Shopify Rebellion.
Don't you dare say Shopify Rebellion. Don't you dare.
Who's score last pick every other game? I'm the best in the world, you know.
All right, Avery. We are in the middle of the Eastern Europe and South American qualifiers, which means we don't have any results to talk about per se. Though I guess there are some early results that are kind of interesting. We'll talk about Eastern Europe first because that one definitely has the most interesting result, which is that in the very first round of the upper bracket... Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Virtus Pro lost their series. One of the favorites by far for the qualifiers. And it's like, okay, no big deal. No big deal. You know, it happens. You drop a series. They go on. They win the first round of the lower bracket. All good. All good. And then they get 2-0'd by Liga team, which... Rival is maybe the biggest name on that. Like, not a team that you're expecting to lose to. What the hell happened? Did you watch these games at all?
No, that is the worst time zone to watch. So it's
really
hard. I don't know. I looked at the results. I looked at the drafts. I don't know what happened, man. They just crumbled. They choked. No way about it. I still think they were favorites in that qualifier. They just got bamboozled straight up.
Do you think their drafts were bad?
I don't think they were bad enough to get the position they were in, but like It's a new patch, so it's kind of hard to judge. Maybe they were just vastly outdrafted, but they were kind of playing what everybody else in this qualifier is playing. I mean, they were playing a bunch of Alchemists, which I think that hero to me is kind of a dead hero, but you know, they didn't lose every game on Alchemist, so they were just losing other games too. I feel like the big winner in this qualifier so far has been Yellow Submarine. This team with Satanic, I didn't realize this team had Satanic on. I was looking at Kasane and like a bunch of new guys, but it has Satanic. Dude, if that guy makes it to TI, that's a big deal in some ways, right? Like, this is the guy who's heralded as the next big CIS carry.
Yeah, for sure. All I see is a bunch of red names on Liquipedia, which means they do not have. They are not known players, basically. They don't have a history that Liquipedia has written up an article or a profile about them, which is not great because it means that even if Satanic qualifies for TI, he may not go to TI. You know what I'm saying? It's the downside of talking about the... Why are you confused?
I don't know. Why would he not go?
The Eastern European qualifier is full of a bunch of Russian players. Did you not hear about the Copenhagen they talked about like, we should ban all the Russian players from the CSGO major that happened just recently there.
Yeah, I know they talked about not letting Russian players basically into the event. So I understand there's some risk there in terms of getting visa or being able to go. I thought you meant like he's going to get replaced on the team or something like.
No.
Sure. There's always that risk, but I think that risk existed for most of the year.
Well, that risk is higher with players who have not traveled internationally, right? If you could show a history of having been to other events around the world and that sort of thing.
That's true.
Very likely Satanic has never left Russia. And I assume likely the same for the other players because most people don't leave their country. So, you know, like... That probably means that it's going to be a lot harder for those guys to get a visa. And I don't know what kind of org Yellow Submarine is. You know, that's usually where an org really has to pull their weight, right? A really big org might be able to get you a better chance at being able to go down there just because they've been through this song and dance before. But, you know, that's just the downside of the Eastern European qualifier. And the downside of like basically newer players making it is that there is a chance that they just don't get to go, which would be terrible. Satanic is definitely one of the bigger up and coming names, as you said, coming out of Eastern Europe. A lot of people have asked me questions about this guy. Do you think, you know, anytime a super young guy, super high MMR, people are always like, do you think he's going to be the next big thing, right? Is he going to be the next Sumail? Right. That's what people are kind of looking for. So, but yeah, they are doing very well. They have 2-0'd their way through the upper bracket and very fast series against 9 Pandas. two 37-minute games. So quite fast. One win. They lost a game against Navi, but they did manage to push through. So they beat the Uragi Zayats stack of Navi. The one win is the like kind of pub team, just a bunch of high level pub players. Cheer Junior, I think, is pretty infamous on the servers there. Sweden Strong has been around for quite some time. Yeah, I mean, these guys have just been heralded as being like good players, good stack, not necessarily the most well-known players, but they're getting there.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like Eastern Europe's the hardest to predict. My predictions were basically 100% incorrect on this region. I have no idea what's going on. I don't even know if these are upsets. Like, I have almost no data on a lot of these teams. We don't have any data. Almost none of these teams have played in an international LAN at all this year, except Navi and VP, who are eliminated. So
a lot of them played in these like these random like online cups.
It's so
and
hard
stuff,
to judge. It's so hard to judge who's like in the groove right now, and that's all that matters. It doesn't really matter what you've done all year. So like I picked VP as favorites, but clearly they were not. I feel like out of the teams remaining, I'd still probably pick Yellow Submarine or Navi. I think there's a decent chance Navi makes a lower bracket run here, but again, they haven't been looking as good as I think they looked at that Dream League they made it to. So who the hell knows where these teams are at, man? I mean, the pressure's on. There's only one slot. Half the teams are probably going to choke. That's life. But I guess we'll see if the other teams who does make it can get visas. That is an interesting conundrum. I think the other CIS teams should be fine because they've been internationally traveling all year, but who knows, man? Who knows? The last boss is passport control, as
That's
Admiral
true.
Bulldog faced many times. You can win a TI, but you can't get past those passport control, man.
Yeah, that is true. We talk about South America qualifiers. We have Heroic versus Beast Coast in the upper bracket final, aka not Boom. You've said explicitly that Heroic is the best team in the South American qualifier. They are going to dumpster everybody. We'll see if they dumpster Beast Coast, who are, came into this as probably the second favorites since Boom shat the bed.
Yeah, Boom's done. I mean, I've said before, they're done. They're not going to make it, unfortunately. Nothing against those guys. I like watching those guys play. I think they're a good team. But something is like completely off about that team. They're too demoralized, in my opinion. They're already looking towards next year. They're done. Got boomed.
Now, technically, they are not actually done.
No, they're done, Austin. Let's just move on.
They are still in the lower bracket finals. They will likely keep going for a day or two.
No, they're done. I give them like one more series, maybe.
One more series.
Dude, they almost lost that first series. They lost a 70-minute game one. Almost lost that series.
Well, then they came back and won a 25-minute game and a 36-minute game. So
that means nothing to me. It means nothing to me. I'm telling you, you just tell a team is done, man. I'm not hoping they are. I'd love to see that team at TI, but I gotta be honest. I think they're boomed, man. They're boomed.
They're boomed. All right. Well, there are 2 spots for South America, which does.
They're not gonna get either. It's good for them. Why is it so hard to accept? I feel like you've been trying to argue that these guys are going to make some miracle run for like a week now. It's over, dude. It's over. Just accept it, Austin. Your favorite team, your favorite mid player, Dark Mago. It's done. Just move on, man.
True.
It is true. Everyone watching is true. He's just really sad his favorite team's not going to be a TI, but that's how life works. My favorite team's not going to be a TI. You don't see me crying about it.
Who's your favorite team?
Shopify Rebellion.
Don't you dare say Shopify Rebellion. Don't you dare say that.
That's my favorite team. I'm a long-time supporter of them EG boys. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
That's why I get called bias on all the forums towards my NA brother.
Yep. All right. So that wraps up the qualifiers so far, just because we don't have any results to talk about. And frankly, I think the community at large doesn't really care that much about these qualifiers. They are much more vested interest. Frankly, I'm not even sure if they cared that much about the first round of qualifiers. I think a large part of the Dota community is just focused on Western Europe. Who's going to make it through Western Europe? How Team Bald's going to do? And then also there's obviously a very huge contingent of fans waiting for the Southeast Asia qualifier, which is another one that's always... I think those qualifiers are always pretty fun to watch. when you get the chance. Early in the morning for us. So we are shaping up for Riyadh and TI. And I had a couple different people come in, ask me the question, because we cast the NA qualifier. We have seen a lot of meepos. We had the Tinkers. We had Tinker both in North America, and we've seen some Tinker in China as well. We've seen a lot of Broodmother. A lot of Broodmothers being played in pubs right now by high-level players. I've seen like Amar, who's spammed a lot of Broodmother. So which one of these cheese heroes do you have to look out for in these upcoming big events? This is a 2... I mean, I guess it's longer than 2 months, but it really comes down to like there's 3 weeks period time for Riyadh, and then there's 2 weeks for TI. That like your entire year is based around in this kind of like 3-month window. So these are huge tournaments. Having cheese picks can get you just one, maybe one series deeper, which can result in a lot more money for some of these events.
I mean, you got to watch out for them all. Like, they all seem viable. I think Tinker and Meepo are definitely good. Those heroes will just win you games right now. 100% viable. I think the Brood is probably viable. It comes down to itemization and how well a team can use a farm-heavy offlaner. Some teams can. Like, I think Gaming Gladiators definitely can. Falcons definitely can. I think it's a bit harder for teams like XG. Like, they can do it, but it's a bit harder. They prefer XXS on slightly more active. I think similar for Bet Boom, like they can play some of the summons offlaners, but they play them for the objective taking, not really the scale. And I think Brood you play as a right click scaler. Yep. So I think the two teams, like I would look towards Gaimin. Liquid actually is similar, and 33 will definitely play that. And Falcons are definitely gonna be able to use that hero if it's viable and they figure out the builds. And I think somebody will. I think there's something about the numbers on that hero that are pretty stupid. People just need to spam it more. So I think those three, 100%, you're going to see some of those top teams abuse. The Chinese teams are definitely going to play Tinker. A lot of those mid players in China grew up playing Tinker. They're really good Tinker players. The second that it starts becoming more viable, they're going to go to it. We've already seen NTS played a bit. And then the Meepo, I think, is, again, that one is super dependent. Do you have a Meepo player or not? And if you do, yeah, you're going to play it. Because that hero is just insanely stupid as the last pick in the right game. There's no way around it. Like, the hero just auto wins you last pick games. So those three are 100% viable. I think the Huskar is also very viable, but less overpowered than those. But I think we are going to see probably some last pick Huskar versus some of these like Ember Spirits and stuff in the meta, because it's still 100-0 matchup, and we're seeing a lot of these Spirit heroes that in theory could get abused. So I expect there to be a decent amount of cheese. I think it's going to ramp up. Like, there's no reason not to do it. Heroes are just viable, and they're good, and they give you huge draft advantage. So you're dumb not to use them.
The first person I thought of, you talking about Chinese mids playing Tinker, immediately thought of XM, right? Just because I've never seen him play Tinker, but he is kind of a weird mid laner, and he plays some interesting heroes. So I figure Tinker's got to be in that list, and it is. In fact, it's in his top 20 most played heroes in competitive matches, 26 games worth. Unfortunately, not a great win rate. 38% win rate. So
that's not bad. That's not bad, actually.
That's not bad.
Yeah, because if you're not a Tinker spammer, then in theory, you're like, you don't need to win majority of your games on Tinker. You need to win the important games with the Tinker. That's what I think actually counts. I think that hero tends to be overpicked. So I'd actually expect a lot of players to maybe not have that high of win rates with Tinker. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I would actually, I mean, that's a bad win rate, but like, if you win the 1 or 2 games where you last pick that hero and you're supposed to win, that's very different than the games where Tinker's like in a weird Tinker meta and people are 3rd or 4th picking it, right? So
what makes you a spammer of a hero? How many games?
I'd say somewhere in that 200 to 400 range.
Okay, he has played 257 pubs of Tinker.
Yeah, so he's proficient on the hero. Yeah. I'm telling you, these Chinese mids all play Tinker, man. Even if they don't have it, they got a Smurf account with like 6,000 games. It's just there, man. Like the servers, the SEA server and the China servers, this hero has just always been in there. So they all learn to play it, and it's a good skill to have. It's a very regional based hero. I'm not sure why. Like, it even goes back to like I remember MMY playing Tinker mid before we went to support and stuff. It does not seem like the Western teams are as good with the hero, historically speaking. I mean, there are players like Weehaw who played it pretty well. And like you'll see guys like Miracle or Thompson play Tinker, but it doesn't feel like the teams play around it as well as the Chinese teams. Even if the players individually is good. I don't know why that is. Maybe just something about the confidence to go super late with like a heavy mid scale is something these Chinese teams are a bit just better at, like playing the slow, getting the comeback game. And Europe has trended towards running people over, which the hero doesn't really do. There was the one meta where you could like play it with the Helm of the Overlord offlaner and bots to the big creep and push, which is when I feel like I saw that old Liquid squad playing it. But outside of that, the hero's kind of just been a carry. And I think these Western teams prefer to play tempo mids than carry mids, and China will happily play these carry mids. Like they don't give a damn. They'll put the Dragon Knight, Viper, OD, Sniper mid, right? That's XM's entire hero pool right now. And like they'll just get super greedy with it. Which is also why I think Brood has been bad for China over like the 10-year period, because Brood is awful with the carry mids, and it's also pretty bad with greedy carries in a way, I think, because the hero automatically takes a huge amount of space, and either it takes the huge amount of space to build ores and you have to push, which greedy carries don't like to do, or it takes a huge amount of space and carries, which the greedy carries also don't like. Like basically the Brood never helps the carry do what it wants to do unless the guy's willing to play a bit faster. Like you're willing to play the Ursa or the Alchemist, or like basically how Gaming Gladiators play, right? I think they're one of the best Brood teams in the world because Dyrachio will always go with the Brood's timings. If Ace gets a pipe, if Ace gets a Bloodthorn, they call Roche. That carry is going to be there and doing that and going higher on a 25, which is the best way to use a hero. Ame is not guaranteed to be doing that. Like he will if he understands the strat, but I think these Chinese teams historically have just been terrible with Brood. So which of those comes out stronger will also be interesting, because I think in theory, Tinker beats a lot of the other cheese on paper. That's how I'm thinking about it in the current meta. Like I think Tinker actually has a good matchup versus Brood and Meepo on paper. If the pace is controlled. Obviously, if the Meepo or Brood just gets out of control with pace and like they're taking second Roshan by 30 and you just push Tinker's base, he can struggle because the hero's really slow. But if that game goes to 40 or 50 minutes, like he's going to outscale him and he's going to outcarry him. It's not even close. Like this laser destroys these right clicking cores. So that's also a weird thing. Might like this rock, paper, scissors between Meepo, Tinker, Brood. You can go play that with your siblings at home.
Gross. So
That'd be cool to see.
I wanted to give some contrast between XM's stats on Tinker, who, you know, he's played 257 games. So nothing to say has played almost double that. Almost 500 matches of Tinker in pubs, 65% win rate in pubs. His Tinker in professional matches, which again, almost double. 26 for XM, right? I said 55 professional matches of Tinker for nothing to say. He has a 71% win rate. That is a great win rate. God damn. Like any hero that you can go to that you win 7 out of 10 of your games, that's got to feel good in a draft, man. I would love to have that kind of person in my drafting phase space.
I do think a decent amount of those were 9th or 10th pick on that LGD squad. And that LGD squad had a pretty good win rate with anything.
Sure.
So you kind of have to subtract that baseline from that. Like, you know, if that squad was, there were periods where they were winning probably 80% of their games on certain lands.
Yeah.
So like if you give NTS any last pick there, he's probably has a 60 or 70% win rate. But I agree.
But by contrast, it also means that the losses were also probably against very tough opponents. You know.
True. I mean, that
like
team
his
did play
last
really
loss
well
of Tinker was against Team Spirit at TI.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can
you got Team Spirited? You got Team Spirited in a 76-minute game. So,
see, Team Spirit's an interesting team because they actually don't play cheese.
Yes,
they don't play any of it.
Yeah,
I don't think I remember.
Collapse is best as an honest offlaner, right? As a blink initiating, just normal offlane dude. That's when he's best.
They don't play the Brood. They don't play the Huskar. They don't play the Tinker. They don't play the Meepo. They don't really play Alchemist even. They just don't play Cheese.
That is pretty interesting.
They don't even really play like Furions, like the soft cheese. They don't even play that, right? I think we've seen Collapse play Visage a couple times, but it didn't even feel like he was cheesing with it. He was just like playing an honest Visage. I don't even know what the hell that is, but he was doing it. They don't even play like Venno. I don't think I've ever seen them play Venno. I mean, what other cheese even is there in the game? These guys just hate dishonest heroes. They want to beat you straight up. It's like some honor bound battle of like, we know we're better than you, so we don't have to use this shit. Come at me even, bro. You know? I guess like Drow. That's like their cheesiest pick is Drow or Magnus, you know?
Yeah.
Whoa. Like
those are pretty honest heroes. Laurel has never played a pub match on his account. Obviously, he probably has a Smurf, but he has never played a Huskar game there, nor has he ever played a professional match of Huskar. Like, just straight up the most non-Huskar player the world has ever seen. Goddamn.
Another reason to respect that squad. You know, they do it the right way. They play the right heroes. Not Mirana, but they play all the other honest heroes in Dota 2. And I respect that. I mean, it's stupid because they should play this shit, but like, I respect that they don't. You know, at least there's some honest Dota players out there that still have some integrity. They haven't stooped to the Quinn's level of
Huskar last pick every other game. I'm the best mid in the world.
You know, like none of this fucking trash. Think you're good because you just cheese people every other game, gain massive draft advantage, and then they can't ban out Emberla, Shrek, Storm every game because they have to think about Huskar, and if they pick them, they use Huskar. Like, you know, Laurel doesn't give a damn. You can have Huskar. I'm gonna play Wind Ranger. Giga Chad.
All right, so time for our weekly Ask SVG a question. Don't forget, you could do that. Please leave a comment if you have any questions for Avery or myself. You can ask me a question too. This one comes from Sunbro6998. His question is, do you find there are any consistent temperaments between players and their role? Any consistent qualities between, you know, these various players? Basically, do you feel like there's a personality matchup to the various roles in Dota? Because I think so.
All right, what's yours?
What's mine? All right, so
let's go through them. Let's go through them. All right, we'll start with ones. We'll start with carry players.
I think carry players are the PvE players. They like to feel powerful. You know, they're the power fantasy characters. You know, that's their personality. You know, they like going into a game and they like feeling stronger than the enemy. Right? They don't like the competitive one-on-one even footing. They like feeling more powerful than their opponent. And I think
the high school bully. That's who you think the anime protagonist high school bully.
And maybe, I mean, whatever you think personality comes along with that sort of thing, you know. Though, I mean, there are people who like winning, you know.
I'll tell you the truth about carry players.
Mm-hmm.
Dumb motherfuckers. Dumb ass motherfucker. Okay. Carry players are the stupidest players in Dota. No one wants to say this shit, but that's the truth. These guys are just dumb as bricks. For any carry players out there listening, not you.
Hey, Priscilla, please show a picture of Fear.
Just
right.
Yeah, not you. You know, if you're a carry player listening to this podcast, you're great. You know, I know some carry players, they're super chill, smart dudes, but like, let's be real, man. They call them the carry because you got to carry them across the finish line. That's the reality of it. Like, these guys just hit creeps. They got to make like 3 decisions a game. Now, are those decisions super difficult to make? Yes. Are there very few players who can make them well? Yes. But come on, man. Like, there's no higher level of thought. There's no like, I'm thinking up here and you're down here. You know, it's not 1,000 decisions a minute. It's just, you make 3 decisions a game. If you make them right, you're a god. If you mess one up, you lose and you choke the game for your team. But that's the reality. That's the reality we live in. So I'm going to call it out. Dumb ass motherfuckers. Okay. That's how I view those characters. You got to but that's also part of their strength. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean this as a flame, but like, carry players can also be the heart of the team because they're just there playing the game. Yeah, it's like a monkey in the, just a monkey beating the drum, just like going in. And they're some of the funniest dudes I've ever met. They're the most fun to be around. They're like the high school jocks sometimes, but they're all insane, and they're all just like infuriating to work with. Because
I wouldn't call them insane. I feel like that applies to a different role in Dota.
All right, sure, but they're like infuriating to work with because they all just want to carry the game. And your entire job as a team is to convince them that you have to win as 5 people.
Yeah.
It's miserable. I hate carry players. I wish for a long time I actually thought about like just building team with 2 offlaners. Like you just have a 3, a 1 and a 1.5, another 3, and then a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You end up with like the same overall farm priority, and then you don't have to worry about the stupid carry pool. And like offlaners are generally just stronger heroes anyway. Like I'm surprised no team has actually done it if you think about it. Like why not, right? Why not just take 2 offlane players? Especially some of these offlane players are like basically carries anyway. Like ATF or like Old Universe. I mean, they were dumb about it though, because they had this goddamn best offlane player in the world playing like fucking Slark safe lane and shit. What do you just have him play his stupid offlane pool? Have him play the Razor and the Mars and the Viper and the Centaur, whatever he wants to play. Just don't have a carry hero. And these heroes carry anyway. They were just so dumb about it. Like they're trying to play like Drow and shit. Like I don't even know what the fuck is going on. Like why do you need this? Just put like SF mid. Have like Mars SF Beastmaster lineup. That's scary as hell, dude. I'm telling you, dude. I don't know why no team has done this. I don't know why no team has done this. Then you get rid of the dumbest guy on the team, and you can have like a really good team.
Well, there goes the heart of the team. You just said they were the heart.
Yeah, you do give up the heart of the team. That's the problem. I mean, those guys are the heart of the team. Yeah, they're like the loyal people. Some of the harder working dudes. They're the heart. You can't get rid of them, but pain in the ass to work with them. I'll tell you that much. God damn.
Mid laners, right? The most skilled. I would say position, ton of ego. That is just a role that is entirely based around ego, because somebody who's going into it who wants a 1 versus 1 against somebody else who wants to show that they are better than you, right? Yep. That they like more the playing field because they're hyper competitive, but that's because they need the even playing field because it feeds into their ego, right? Especially if they get a bad matchup, right? And then they beat that guy, then their ego is just out of the fucking control. This is the anime profile picture king right there. Every single mid needs to have an anime profile picture because they are the protagonist. They are the person who matters most. Their matchup is the one that matters the most. They need to get, their 1v1. They need to, get their rotations from their supports. Like they are the biggest ego for sure. They're the most arrogant of players.
Yeah, I mean, you know what they say, like why guys buy big trucks, right? That's the mid player right there. I'm not gonna make that a second half of that joke on this show because it's a family friendly program, but we'll put it that way. And I will also add to that, they have the biggest ego, dude. Maybe you can be like the positive guy in this. I'll be the negative, So we'll be bouncing out.
Sure.
Mid players, the biggest fucking crybabies, bro. They're the biggest crybabies. Oh my god, they just cry about everything. This guy got the rune. This is ganked me. I just want the 1-on-1. It's just endless. No game is good from them. Everything could have been better. The upside of that is mid players often the guy who will make your team better.
They're the most skilled usually. Right.
They're the most skilled, and they'll push everybody to be as good as they are.
Yeah.
Which usually everybody on the team is worse than they are. So like that's fair. So it pushes people to be better, which is really good. The carry's the heart of the team, but the mid is like
the motivation.
They're like the taser. The taser that's zapping you in the fucking ass to get you to go forward. Like the cattle prod. Yeah. Why is your lane so shit? Look at my lane. I'm winning it every game. Fix your goddamn side lane. That's most mid players. So
yeah,
I respect that. You need one of those guys on your team for sure. Most of the time it's always coming out of mid, but damn, the ego's out of control, dude. Like these guys just they're like the old Western cowboys, like duel me at noon, like 1v1. I don't care. And then the second anybody else touches this 1v1 vacuum, it's like the world collapses. It's cheating. It's cheating, man. You go gank for like 4 minutes. What is that? Like team game, brother. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I guess wrong on the 50-50 again. This guy's so lucky. He
actually
can't be better than me. He's luckier than me.
There was a period I remember there were discussions where it was like, should Dota have a bubble around mid for like the first 5 minutes? Like no one can enter it, you know? It's like a shield bubble. So you can't gank, you can't contest the rune. So it's just a pure 1v1 for like only the first 5 or 6 minutes. So that mid players guarantee get that one-on-one to see who's better, you know, lock them in the cage. I actually think that's a pretty good idea. I think you could make it so like... That's a terrible idea
because hero matchups, unless you were doing like, unless you could have the same hero.
Hear me out. Okay. It's an option, part of the draft. At the end of the draft, both teams can click to lock that in. Now, if one of them doesn't lock it in, then it doesn't happen. But if both lock it in, you get the cage match. So if both mids are like, I'm going to win this matchup, you know, I got like Puck versus
that
Quap.
Would be hype.
Puck versus Quap. They're both like, you know what? I want the isolated one-on-one. The other guy's like, you know what? I want the isolated one-on-one too. Let's go, bro. They both lock that bubble and boom, bubble shield around mid for the first 6 minutes. You can have that idea, Valve. I won't even charge you. Well, I will charge you actually. If you use that, I would like.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a cage match.
It's hard out here, but I think that's actually a pretty cool idea, dude. I'd like to see that. It'd be hype, right? Like, so I don't know. You can have that idea, Valve. I won't ask for much, just like $50,000, but I look forward to it.
All right, offlaners. Now this is the role that I think is the crazy. These are the crazy people because. The offlane role is the third core role. So if you wanted to be strong, you would be in the 1 or 2 position, right? If you wanted those aspects of things. It used to be that the offlane role was the suicide lane, which is, you know, just description wise, like, yeah, you're going there to feed your brains out. You're going there and you were going to die. You're going to have a hard game. Now that has changed over time. And it's definitely become way more carry centric. You've gotten a lot more farm out of it. Offlaners now are like the strongest laners. They have the best time at the start. So maybe there is a split of personality between old school offlaners and new school offlaners. But I do think this position has the biggest characters. The most crazy people take the offlane, I think.
So what marks offlane players to me is, one, they are usually the clowns of the team.
Yeah.
Right, you have the heart.
You have to have a good mentality if you're just going into that. Yeah,
that's right. You have the clown. They're the Joker, the wild card. Like these guys are capable of anything. They're capable of fist fighting you on Wednesday, buying you some chocolates on Thursday, and crying in the street on Friday. Like anything can happen, but they're probably going to make it entertaining. You're going to laugh, and they're just going to be absolute clowns. You know, they'll play the fool for the team if they need to, but they'll be the hero at the same time. Masochistic to hell. These guys like to suffer, and they relish in the suffering. And part of that offlane role is to make the enemy carry and the enemy suffer with them because they know that they can get through it better. So if they drag you down to that level and everybody's suffering and miserable, they're used to it. They're trained to deal with it like a monk, and they're going to get through it, but you're not.
That's right.
You know, your game's going to be ruined, but I'm down to ruin mine with yours because I'm better at that role than you. I think those make
like
the best
literally the description of like, you know, when you go low, go lower. Like the offlaner, he wants to go as low as possible. He wants that lane to just be as shit as humanly possible because he's used to it. That's the life that he likes. He's a masochist by heart. He enjoys the pain and suffering. And he is acclimated to that environment where the pampered carry is not. He wants to drag you down from those ivory towers of, you know, 5 CS a minute, you know, 10 CS a minute, and get you down into the muck and just where you're just dying and not getting any farm. Yeah.
They just want to inflict pain on others.
Yeah.
And they relish in it. They're simple folk, you know, simple men.
Which is where I think maybe part of the split, maybe it's less old school offlaners and new school offlaners. I think there's initiating offlaners. Okay, there's initiating offlaners who just want to like start good fights. I think those are kind of similar to like the aura offlaners. They just want to do things that like, I don't care, anything for the dub, right? And then there is the sadist, sadomasochistic, actually both. The Broodmother, the Viper, the Razor, anything to design to screw over the enemy carry. It's not about their own game necessarily. It's about screwing over the enemy carry as much as possible, right?
And there's a good truth of that in Dota. I think there's a little bit of that in everybody, but those guys will definitely embrace it more than others, and definitely a wild card role, man. Like the guys that don't fit in anywhere, they're going to be the guys that end up in the off lane because they just don't like anything else. They just like being brutalized, and that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. We'll just move on to the next role. 4 positions. 4 positions. I think these are the chillest dudes. These are the quietest, chillest of players. They have a role that is they're like the, you know what, Tofu is actually a pretty good example of this. They are the kind of hippie, just go with the flow, you know, because they don't have any responsibilities as a 4 position. You get this in total independence of just going where you want. You know, you're not locked down like a 5 position in this toxic relationship with your carry, you know, where you have to do everything you can to make their life good. The offlaner is a fucking psycho. So you could just leave him alone. He probably would prefer that. You could just go and be free. Be free. You want to do a little jungling? You could do some jungling. You know, in certain metas, that was a thing. You could just go and jungle. You want to gank mid? Go for it. You want to roam into the safe lane? They're happy to have you here. Everybody's happy to have you in their lane because there is an independence to this role, and it's just a happy bonus when he shows up. Oh, my 4 position secured my power route. He ganked my lane. He won that matchup for me. That's fantastic. As a result, they are just like the chillest hippie dudes, you know?
Hey, I hate 4 players. I'll say that. I think
that's a 5 position who's jealous right there. That's a jealous 5.
It's because 4 players are like, they don't give a shit about anything. They're too cool for school. They're a combination of too cool for school and teacher's pet at the same time. And that is infuriating, right? They can do no wrong. That's the ultimate thing. They can do no wrong.
That's true.
No matter what they do, it's a good move. When have you ever heard a caster or anybody flame the 4 player on a team? Never happens. Never happens. The last thing to ever happen is you flame that 4 player. Even if he messes up, well, he was trying to do something cool, you know? He's the guy who always makes the plays in the big team play. He's the guy who salvages the early game through roaming. He's the guy who, like, makes the big plays around the Roche pit. Like, this guy can't screw up. If he has a terrible game, that's seen as just the baseline. It's not bad. It's like, yeah, I mean, he couldn't do anything in that game, you know? There was nothing you could do. Like, the lanes just went too bad. He had no roaming potential. They were too far behind. You know, this is the Rubik player, right? The guy who's there to make the big plays, but if it doesn't happen, that's okay. That's okay. We forgive you. Maybe next game, because we know how good you are. You're one of the most skilled spellcasters in the world, so you'll get him next time. No pressure, no pressure. Any other role man you screw up, you get your ass kicked to the goddamn curb. But this guy, teacher's little pat on the head. Good job, Dare. You tried. And then he's just chilling out, smoking hookah in the back lounge. Like, fuck 4 players, man. These guys, they have just as big an ego as the mid, but they don't have to show it because no one calls them out on anything.
That's true. There is a link between the mid and the 4 position, right?
Yeah,
there's a reason
100%.
Why so many mids, when they're done playing mid, you know? They go to 4 position, right? Because they're just like, that looks like a cool role.
It's bullshit, man. It's bullshit. Someone needs to call these guys out more because they do screw up and they do make mistakes, but it's like nobody cares. They're too cool. Like, no one's going to flame GH. No one's going to flame Jerax. You know, no one's going to flame Crit. When was the last time you remember these guys having a bad game? They don't have bad games. But that's a perception thing. That's a social construct. Okay. We need to break that down and bring these guys back to the same level as everybody else because it's unfair. It's unfair that they get to be happier in their lives playing this game than everybody else simply because of a perception thing. They didn't earn it, man. They didn't earn it. Maybe their forefathers did. Maybe like the old generations of 4s earned it, but these modern ones didn't earn it, man. That's my old man on 2011
when you played 4 position, you would go out to lane, it's uphill. You go back to base, it's uphill. You know, and like everywhere you go, you're always walking uphill. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not walking 5 miles in the snow anymore.
Yeah,
you know, get a grip on yourself. You're playing like Rubik in a lane with like a Viper who automatically won 1v2, and all you have to do is like stack triangle 3 times and get 6-minute power. Ooh, like, you know, it's not that hard to figure it out anymore. So take a chill pill, okay? Take a step back, check your ego. We all know you're like the cool bad dude in the Breakfast Club, just sitting in the corner, like, oh, what's that, sushi? You know, like we all know. You're the coolest dude on the block. Okay, it's fine. But let's take some responsibility sometimes. That's the problem with 4 players. Least likely to take personal responsibility.
True. They're the youngest child. right? They get to have their cake and eat it too, in the regard that, as you said, you never have a bad performance, because what could he do? He was a support, but he also gets way more farm usually than the 5 position. So much farm that sometimes they end up eclipsing their cores. But at the end of the day, it's oh well, he's just a support. Or look how much he did as a support, while he has twice or 3 times the resources as the 5 positions, none of the responsibilities.
This is exactly how you define the 4 position in the current social construct. Okay. If the 4 is ahead of the enemy 3, holy shit, that guy's having a tremendous game, right? But if the 4 is below his own 3, and that 3 is like below their 4 or whatever, right? Like your team's having a bad game. Oh man, that 3, he really shit the bed. It's never the 4 bad. It's always, if the 4 is performing or performing what he should, wow, this guy's crazy good. But if he shat the bed and fucked his 3 and they're all poor, it's the 5's fault. You know, look at how poor this 3 is below their 4. But it's not the 4. The guy just like dodges out. He just literally does the Homer Simpson meme back in the bushes. Like, wasn't me. Wasn't me on that lane playing Rubik that griefed you and didn't do anything for 4 minutes, you know?
Meanwhile, the offlaner gets that attention. He's just flogging himself. He's like, yeah, it is my fault. I did play bad. I did feed my lane.
They take
You're
responsibility.
right.
Man, screw these 4 players, man. None of them are humble. They all just pretend to be. They're all posers. Don't worship them. Fake heroes.
The 5 positions, the lowest net worth support, lowest net worth position in the game. Typically the drafter, right? A lot of responsibility, but also kind of the least responsibility a lot of times, where it's like, well, he's just a 5, you know? A lot of times it's just like, well, you know, the position 6 support, you know, once upon a time, that was a thing, right?
I mean, I think 5 players, we all agree, they're just like the best overall. They're just like normal dudes trying their hardest.
Shit like that.
Okay, honestly, I think 5s they're the parent in the room. That's how I see them.
They've got to be responsibility.
They got to be the guy to like tell their people to check themselves, or shut the hell up. They're usually the drafter captain. They got all this other out of game shit usually. They don't have as much time to focus on their gameplay. It's not as important. I think it is nowadays, but generally historically it wasn't. They got to be the parent in the room, man. They got to keep everybody in check. They can't be out of line. They can't be joking it up at the bar after work. You know, they got to go home and do their taxes and watch the replays and figure out what's not working and get this dumbass carry player who's the dumbest guy on the team to fucking play the lane well, you know, and keep the mid player's ego in check. And meanwhile, he's got a 4 position who's just out with girls down the street. He's not helping for shit. And your offlaner's a psychopath with like dead bodies in the basement. No one's helping you. Your manager's fucking asleep upstairs. Like, what, you know, it's just all on you. You gotta be the grown up. It's like you know, it's like you're all some orphan family, but you're the oldest one. So it's on you now. It's on your head. You gotta live with that.
They have
bullshit, man.
They have the most responsibility. A lot of times they are oftentimes the more mature for their age. They are also the smartest players on the team, or at least they think they are the smartest player on the team, because that's why they're playing 5 position, because they think to themselves, oh, I can do more with less. I am a leader. I am a visionary. I understand Dota better than anybody else on my team, and I will be the person to make certain calls. And that's why they are also nags. They like to nag about people all the time. Do this, do that. They like to control people and tell people what to do.
Yeah, I mean, but to be fair, most of the time they're right. So I feel like that's pretty justified there.
Spoken like a 5 position.
I feel like most of the time you should listen to that guy. He generally does know more and does know better. So yeah, I disagree with a little with you there, Austin. But yeah, I think we're both on the same page that they're generally the best human beings. I think we can agree there.
I mean, if the 4 position is the youngest brother, the 5 position is the oldest, right?
I mean, let's say you get stuck on a desert island. You want to be stuck with 5 5s, 5 4s, 5 3s, 5 2s, 5 1s.
I mean, it depends on what are my chances of surviving. If I'm there to just have a good time, it's going to be 4s and 3s all day, baby.
Yeah, you'll have a good time for 3 days, and you'll all be dead. Guarantee you that much.
All right. Well, there you go. There's a very long-winded answer to your question. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Sunbro6998. You guys let us know if you actually agree with that analysis of the various personalities and how they fit into Dota. I do think that's one of the cool things about Dota is I do think you can put your personality in the game, and there's usually a role for you to fit in. Avery is definitely a 5 position. What do you think I am, by the way? Because I play 3, 4, and 5. Where do you think I fit in best?
Well, I mean, there's one more role in Dota.
Yeah.
For those who wanted to be good but just weren't good enough, they're managers. We call them managers. So you fit in the Jack Chen role where you can play your 20 games a day and be high MMR and think you're good, but you can manage a team. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that just because most Dota players are assholes. I'm down to be just a regular Joe. Like everybody watching.
I've never seen you in a competitive environment, so I actually can't really judge it. I don't know how much of an asshole you are in a competitive environment. Like I'd probably put you somewhere between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But you don't really have too much of an ego. I think you've just been doing this for too long. At a certain point after you play Dota for too long, you just become a jaded motherfucker, and then none of this really matters. Like you don't have ego or any of the shit anymore. You're just jaded. You just don't care. I think that's the point I'm at, Like even if you put me back in a competitive team, I just don't give a shit, Like I'm not gonna deal with these kids no more. Too jaded, man.
Maybe this will tell you something about me. I started as a 5 position, and then I felt like I didn't have enough control over my fate in the game, so I moved to 3 because I felt like 3 was a unexplored role, basically. So there's a little bit of ego there where I was like, yeah, I think I'm the smartest guy on the team, and I drafted for the teams that the amateur teams that I started off in Dota 1, and then I was like, no, I need to be able to have a way to win the game.
I mean, you also generally have more ego when you're young.
True.
So I think young Dota players are going to play core roles.
Yeah.
And then as you get older, you play more support, which I think we've seen through all these transitions, right? Snaking, Toronto, Tokyo, Kuroki, whatever. A lot of these guys start out on carries or mids or off lane and then eventually end up playing support because at some point they just don't have that ego anymore. They don't have to prove anything. And it's more like, what's actually going to make me win? Supports, core players win you games. Supports win you trophies. Okay. Don't forget that. That is one of the most important lessons in Dota 2. You will never win a championship with a dog shit support duo. Never. Now you can win games with really good core players, but you cannot win a tournament without good supports. It's impossible. Does not happen.
That's good wisdom to go out on. All right, thank you for watching another episode of Not for Broadcast. Apparently last episode I called it Not Safe for Broadcast, which works just as well, to be honest, but not for broadcast. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys. So this one's going to release on Tuesday. We'll see you on Friday, where we'll talk about South America and Eastern Europe closing up. Goodbye.